What do you think? Should we just like dance to the intro music for like a little
I'm
bit as soon
grooving
as we
out to
come
it
in?
every
Right?
time. Every time we play
Every
it, I'm
time.
grooving to it.
Yeah, we can hear it too, everybody. Welcome back to the Nap Nerf Herders. How you guys doing? We are I don't know, we're back from I guess a little sabbatical. Things have been crazy. The weather's been weird. Texas is off.
Mm. Yeah, I'm
Uh
surprised we got the power to do this.
I was gonna say, like, did you lose power at all through all this?
No, I think I'm in a special sector. It seemed to be going up like the south side. Like it started in Bellevue, then I think they did La Vista and Papillion, and they kind of started going up kind of that far south side of Omaha for a while there.
Yeah, I was able to duck it at home, but for my job, all I was doing was chasing around generators for areas that were going to lose power.
I can only
And
imagine.
and unfortunately, those generators were filled with fuel that was not rated for the low temperatures that we got, which I couldn't understand. But here we are.
And here's
Here
the
we
deal. We
are.
live in Nebraska, guys. We get winter on a regular basis. I can
Yeah.
only imagine I can only imagine what Texas is like right now because apparently they're just shut down. Like Texas is like, we don't get winter down here, or they're not supposed to. And they're just, I mean, it sucks for them right now. Good chunks of them are still without power.
Yeah, I've got a buddy who's down in Austin, who has been without power for over 36 hours at I don't know, at that last point. I wonder where he's.
And they don't have an end in sight from what I've heard. The ones without power right now, they don't know. I mean, it's not good when Texas is asking all the rest of the Midwest to calm down so they can have
50
some power.
53 hours. 53 hours, and he ended up running over to a relative's house who had power. That's nuts.
That's crazy.
53 hours without power, all because Texas was like, you know what, we're gonna not be a part of this Midwestern power grid and share with other states. We're gonna do our own thing and not winterize after like multiple warnings. If you're a Redditor, you probably saw that post, and it just went crazy from there. But
which is funny because we in our house, every time somebody comes over during the winter, they're like, how effing cold is it in your house? Because we keep it like 62 degrees. And I saw on Facebook when OPPD was like, could you turn your temperatures down? And people were like, is 68 low enough? And we're like, we're 62 over here.
we
feel bad.
turned down to 65, and I mean, that's
good.
It's fine.
There are stores, or there's a couple restaurants in Omaha that are having to throw out food because they lost registration. They lost refrigeration.
Yep,
And if that's happening in
that.
Omaha, I can only imagine what's happening down in Texas.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate side effect of just a straight up lack of preparation in situations like those. And I don't know. It topped off the amount of crazy that we have been getting. Because let's see, we got some absolute psycho shit going on in WandaVision, which, I mean, we were all kind of expecting at this point. We knew things were going to get crazy.
Right.
And then we also got some news in the Star Wars world that we're going to talk about. I don't know if I want to call it the Star Wars world. An actress who happens to be in Star Wars content.
Not in the Star Wars world anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then we got some more Zack Snyder goodness. So
Yeah.
where do you know what? You told me how we were going to start this off, where your slides started.
prepped
off
you.
I can't
I
remember
prepped
for
you.
the life of me anymore.
Well, I thought we'd do some lightning rounds first because we're going to spend the majority
Fair
of this
enough.
episode talking about episodes 5 and 6 of WandaVision. I did
I'm
want to throw
sure.
this in here right quick. Captain Marvel 2 has been announced, and I mean, we knew it was coming.
Sure.
They've recently announced, I believe her first name is, actually, you know what? It's Zawe, Zaw, or how else would you pronounce that?
Zawe.
Yeah. Zawe. Zai, maybe?
Zay.
Zay?
Zay is my first instinct.
Zay, that makes more sense than Za because of the E. Yeah, well, let's just go with that. Zay Ashton
Fair enough.
has been cast as the villain in Captain Marvel 2. And I think that's awesome because her career has been kind of interesting. She's a British actress. She's been in a lot of things over there. And then she's kind of slowly come over here. She was in Velvet Buzzsaw with I think Jake Gyllenhaal was in that. That was a big thing for Netflix. And then after that, she was on a Broadway play called Betrayal with none other than Loki actor Tom Hiddleston and Daredevil actor Charlie Cox. And the last time Maddie and I were in New York seeing or there for New York Comic Con, we went out and saw this. And I mean, we were sitting 10 feet away from Loki himself and Daredevil himself, and right in the middle of this love affair, really intimate Broadway production was this actress, and she was fantastic. And it was a very intimate play. I mean, the entire play is just them three, like the entire play. And the sets are like a table or some chairs and a moving like a back wall, you know, and sometimes it gets really intimate and the wall comes closer. Sometimes they give a little more room, but that was the entire play. And holy crap, they still held my attention because we already know that Tom Hiddleston and Charlie Cox are great actors, but
I mean, they're commanding performers. I can absolutely imagine them just dominating on stage.
Right. And she was right in the middle of them, and she held her own as well. She was very great as a performer. And I got to hand it to whoever her agent is, because it seemed like the agent was just placing her with certain people that could get her into the Marvel universe. And now she's playing the villain in the next Captain Marvel movie. I mean, that's a huge step up, and that's awesome.
I mean, that's pretty sweet. I would hope that I don't know. I just hope that the second Captain Marvel movie is better than the first one was. I
think we all hope that, right?
I didn't hate it, but it certainly wasn't my favorite. It's low on my list as far as the Marvel Cinematic Universe. There's nothing to do with like Brie Larson and the controversy that got stirred up around her when they announced her character and all that stuff. But yeah, no. Then again, you know what? These Broadway actors and actresses, when they come into the film world, like, I mean, Marvel's got a rich history of that. I mean, Hiddleston and Anthony Hopkins played off of each other, and they're both like prominent. Prominent. I don't want to say Broadway. I guess theater would be the better way to put it. But they played off each other really great in Thor. And Hiddleston, of course, plays well off of just about everybody. I finished Daredevil season 3 not too terrible long ago. I was on a very long delay finishing the Netflix series for those.
I guess.
And I'm actually kind of upset that I waited as long as I did, because I think season 3 was probably the best.
Season 3 is pretty darn good. I think season 2 is my favorite because it introduced Punisher and there was a lot going on. But season 3 was legit.
But Charlie Cox was peak Daredevil, and honestly, just like the way he portrayed both characters that he has to play three characters really, because it's like Daredevil's got like kind of the same aspect as Batman does. It's like you've got him playing Daredevil, you got him playing Matt Murdock, and then Matt Murdock around people who knows that he's Daredevil,
right.
And that's the same
different characteristics
way with Bruce Wayne
for
and
sure.
Batman and all that. I'm excited. But then again,
I am too, and I'm excited to see Charlie Cox in Spider-Man 3. That's going to be interesting as well.
Yeah. There's been a lot of hype around that. If we want to call that a lightning round thing, just the amount of stuff I think we've talked about it before already, but
I'm sure we have.
Just the sheer madness that it sounds like it's going to be, and then knowing that Doctor Strange is going to be involved in that one as well. But is also but I don't know, in regards to our WandaVision talks that we're going to be going on into later, that also has some implications as to what I feel like might be happening here soon too. So it's nothing but fucking crazy.
Spider-Man 3, I mean, all of the casting announcements and the casting rumors and the shot down rumors that nobody believes are actually shot down. It's crazy. Actually, there's one confirmed thing. Did you know that Tom Holland is going to be in Spider-Man 3?
Oh, no way. Who would have thought?
It's just like everybody else is coming to that movie. But it's actually a Spider-Man movie, guys. Like, I'm sure he's in the background somewhere. Like, guys, this is supposed to be my movie. It's like
I thought you were gonna say like Venom or something like that, and I'm like, yeah, I
no,
kind
no.
of expected that.
I think
that was
think
Sony's big beef with Marvel.
I'm
and all
just
that
a
shit,
Holland. I'm just a Tom Holland advocate, just reminding people that he's also in the film.
He's my favorite Spider-Man by far. By far.
Yeah. Let's move on here. We gotta talk about this. I know it's not a happy subject, but
well,
we
it
gotta talk
is
a little
if
bit
you
about
look at it from a certain perspective. I'm in
for sure.
I'm in the I don't care ilk for this. I do care about what she was saying because it was bullshit. Like she was absolutely being, like she likened being a conservative with
being a Jew in the Holocaust.
Yeah, being a Jew in the Holocaust, and I was just like, like I could like I don't know who you thought was going to get on board with that in the rational world. I definitely don't know why, like particularly in the film world, you don't want to get on the bad side of like of the Jewish faith, because it's a prominent world. I mean, they joke about it all the time, but a lot of those jokes and stereotypes about Jews in the film world, I mean, they're stemmed from truth. But at the same time, maybe you just shouldn't be a dickhead if you want to keep your job in the public eye.
I think most people came down to that. Like, if you're employed, why endanger that kind of employment? You know, Here's the thing. Before Ronda Rousey and her rise to fame and her Fast and the Furious cameos and stuff like that, you had Gina Carano, which Gina Carano came... Yeah,
her career ended when she went over to WWE. In my
I don't know. Some people thought that's when it picked up, but before
I don't know. I haven't heard much shit about her ever since. So
I don't follow wrestling anyway. Gina Carano left the MMA world and started acting, and she got roles like she got a starring role in Haywire. She got some other gigs, but this was a big deal for her to get on into The Mandalorian, and there were some naysayers up front, but I think. Once they kept on bringing back her character, she started becoming a highlight of the series. I think a lot of people liked her. And she didn't just get let go this month because of this tweet. It's been reported that for the last 6 months, she's been having multiple meetings. Either her agent's been having meetings with Disney, or Disney and her have sat down in a room and had meetings about the things she's been tweeting. And, everything from, COVID theories and conspiracies to anti-mask stuff to election fraud. She got on Parler, and that was a big thing when, a big name like her gets on Parler. Yeah. She was posting a lot of stuff. And again, it's your right to do that, but it's also another business's right to not associate with you. And people saying that they just dropped her, it's not true. It's been reported by many sources they gave her several opportunities. In fact, in the fall, right before the Disney announcement that their big 2021 investor meeting, they begged her to stop. And because she didn't, they were planning to announce, apparently they were planning to announce her own show and as a character. And because of her latest fuck ups on social, they had to cancel that. And they just announced Rangers of the New Republic, which a lot of people thought she could still star in, but they weren't going to officially name it as her show. And they gave her another chance, and she swore to Disney she wouldn't do it again. And then come February, she does it again.
Did they ever say that Rangers of the New... Because like I said, I tried to avoid
never
looking
did.
Into it. They never said that Rangers of the New Republic was going to be her show?
No, but it was speculated because it had been reported that she was going to get a new show, but she was hot trending during that investment week, so they canceled saying her name. But they did announce this show, and everybody thought, well, if she comes back... if she dials it down, she could be the lead of this show. And many were speculating that. But no, Disney never officially announced her name attached. But I think it could have been a fair guess that she could have been a part of that.
Sure. I mean, I mean, that's definitely the direction that they were sending it into.
Mhm.
Even though I still thought that it was weird. This is why I fell into the I don't care ilk, specifically just around her not being involved with Star Wars anymore. Because I did like her character. Like she was okay. Like she played an okay character in the first season. In the second season, I feel like she went in like the complete opposite direction that I would have expected her character to go. Because based off of the way that she described herself in the first season is not a joiner. Like she didn't want to be associated with something again after the way that the rebellion went down. Her disdain around what's his name? The New Republic operative who tracked Din.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like her particular like conversation that she had with him wasn't exactly positive. And
but he was definitely trying to convince her to join up. And then the next time we saw her, she had a badge. Yeah.
And it was clear that was the direction that they were trying to go, but it didn't make sense that like she just suddenly decided to change her mind. Then the whole thing where she's like, "Oh, I'm a marshal now. I've got rules." And then she breaks like a shitload of those
immediately
rules, like,
breaks
right
them.
away. I'm just like, she just seemed like kind of a weaker character in the plot and wasn't necessarily somebody who I connected. Like I didn't get to a point where I cared about her character. I felt the same way about Carl Weathers' character. Wasn't really a big concern of mine either. But he's probably going to be coming back because he didn't post any crazy shit. And he also directed one of the better episodes in season 2 also.
Yeah. Well, clearly, I think it's clear Disney had plans for her because, while we didn't agree with the character choices, that wasn't her fault. That was their fault. But it definitely seemed like they were prepping to launch. They're in MCU mode now where they're looking ahead with all of their series and all of their connections. And it really seemed like they were prepping to give her her own offshoot. And it really seemed like throughout the fall, they were just, trying to get across to her that, hey, you got something good here. We don't want to let you go. Don't force our hand. And then by the time February came around, they're like, all right, we got to cut you.
I mean,
and they were not shy about it either. She's no longer an employee. I mean, that's it.
You can push the boundaries, but like, I mean, it's the same old saying that has been going around ever since like this whole cancel culture thing has been coming around. Is like, yes, you have freedom of speech, but you don't have freedom from consequences. And if you offend the wrong people, you're gonna lose your damn job.
And that's just so hard for some people to get. Like, she's not in jail. No, she's not. She's not awaiting execution. It's just her employer didn't, which is hilarious because her employer is Disney, and we all know Walt Disney's background, as shady as it is. Walt Disney the person, not Disney the company. But it's not wrong for them to not want to associate with some of the things she was saying and want to protect their brand. And I mean, if you're going to go up against anybody, don't go up against Disney. No. I mean, for Christ's sake, you're going to lose. You're going to lose.
Like she lost out. She lost out on like 3 franchises she could have been involved in.
Oh my gosh.
Or 2 other franchises, I guess. She was already in one.
No, but she is coming out with a new movie. Did you hear this? She's producing and starring.
Or the Daily Wire is going to help her out with it.
The Daily Wire.
Whatever. All right.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I don't mean to mock it. I mean, I'm sure that there's creative people over there too, but at the same time, when you think Daily Wire, you don't think film company.
No, you don't.
That's not your first instinct. But yeah, no.
Although Ben Shapiro is a big fan of Star Wars, and which is interesting. But yeah, it's crazy.
I was in the world where I was like, yeah, I don't care that her character is gone. I am all about the debate about whether Twitter should be able to ban people for having opinions that they're not super hot about, or that are like legitimately inflammatory and offensive. But this isn't. Well, first of all, this isn't the podcast for that. Mm-hmm. And that but there is some precedent around whether or not these platforms that have such a big bearing on people's careers and seem to be the main way that a lot of people, one of the main ways at least, that people are gathering their information. There is some precedent to discuss whether or not some of those things should be bannable, because she didn't get banned from any social media platforms as far as I know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think. Well, I don't know. I don't know if
is Cara or is
Carano,
is Gina
Twitter.
Carano banned from social media?
I don't think she's banned. Oh yeah. No. I
was gonna
don't
say
think she is.
the only thing that I saw was that she got fired. I'm sure that there were people calling for her to be removed from social media, but like she didn't actually like break any like straight up rules as far as Twitter is concerned.
She wasn't inciting violence or anything like that.
No, absolutely not. But then again, you don't seem to get in trouble for that either. So,
well,
but yeah, no, there's certainly a debate to be had about whether or not these social media platforms have gotten too big to be banning people off of them, and that they are kind of more towards like public information and should be kind of a lot more open. But this isn't the podcast for that. This isn't about, the story isn't about social media. It's about a company that, look, you know, it's bigger than just her. She's a part of a show that employs thousands of people, and is owned by a brand that employs, you know, millions of people. There are millions of dollars on the line, and it's a franchise that is held very close to people's hearts in a lot of ways, and Disney's about to let it get.
Disney's not going to let you drag it under the rug. And again, for all those people saying that, well, you know, they shouldn't have just let her go over this. It's been heavily reported that this was the 6th or 7th straw that broke the camel's back. This wasn't a James Gunn situation. This was something that apparently they went out of their way to get her to stop. And she even promised to stop and even released a statement back in the fall, you know, kind of trying to turn over a new leaf. But she came back. And when people's jobs and a company's bottom line is on the line, they're going to let you go before they lose money.
And they're right to do so.
They're right to do so, and that should surprise nobody. It's not censoring,
Absolutely
it's
not.
protecting their brand and their product. And, you know, it's not like she's Pedro Pascal, you know, she's a side character that they could kill off screen or just never mention again, you know, so. But having said that, the fact that they gave her so many chances doesn't mean they won't give her another chance down the line. Guess who's coming back to direct the next Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yeah,
James Gunn.
I'll argue that his reason for getting kicked out of Disney's little inner circle wasn't quite as severe as this one.
It's a little different. It's a little different, obviously, but they let his ass go. And guess what? He's coming back. So that doesn't mean that Gina Carano can't come back. But
he was very clearly making a joke. She's straight up means everything that she's saying.
I know that, but his material was dark and disturbing to some, and it forced Disney's hand, considering that they're a family company. I get it. It was dark humor, but still, they let him go. Now they're bringing him back. If Gina Carano goes down this path of just shitting on Disney and this choice, you know, she's not getting accepted back into the fold.
I feel like, again, though, it was kind of to your point that this isn't Pedro Pascal we're talking about. She's not a main character. Like she's very much a kind of like, I don't want to say it this way because it's kind of derogatory, but it's also Gina Carano right now. She was a throwaway character. Like if this was the Walking Dead, she's a character they'd be like, all right, you pissed us off, we're just gonna kill your character.
Sure, but she had
not
more
have to deal with it anymore.
I mean, they brought her back more times than they brought Carl Weathers back. You notice Carl Weathers wasn't in the second half of season 2 of Mandalorian. She was. You know, she even went off on missions with him. So they were certainly setting her up for a bigger picture down the line.
Carl Brothers is a business guy. He's not a fighter. He's just trying to make some money. He's got a town to run. You're like, you don't fucking.
Well, listen, we have one other lightning round, and this is kind of a similar vein.
Lightning round being a generous term. Just like every episode, really. That's what it comes down to.
Zack Snyder never got fired from Warner Brothers for saying some anti-Jewish rhetoric on Twitter, but it was heavily reported that a lot of people at Warner Brothers weren't vibing with Zack Snyder. And, back in 2016, it all went down around Justice League. And here's the difference between what I think Gina Carano is on the path to do and what Zack Snyder did. Even with all the drama, even with all the people saying, release the Snyder cut, or shame on you, Warner Brothers, for doing this to Snyder, and blah, 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 for years, he never talked shit about Warner Brothers. He always kept it professional. He always kept a smile. He didn't go on what's his site, Vero. He didn't go on some rant on Vero. He didn't tweet about Warner Brothers. Well, if it's not his, he's got a huge stake in it because he's always a part of that. Did you
jump on that ship when that thing came out?
I didn't, but I remember it was huge at Comic-Con once, and they launched it with like his little short that he did, and they were giving out shirts. It was a cool thing, but no, I never jumped on it. But it's still around.
I'm on it. I don't know if I can still access it. I don't know.
Well, he never talked shit. He never did. He always kept a smile on his face. And when HBO Max came around, what did they do? They said, you know what? He did right. Let's give his fans what they want. And this on Valentine's Day, he gave us what we wanted, and that was a trailer for the new Justice League. What did you think of this trailer?
So, if I'm being honest, this trailer was actually kind of ruined for me because they did like this build-up of advertising for it, and they were like,
which I avoided completely.
Like they were showing little clips of it and stuff like that, and unfortunately, like I didn't watch any of the clips, but like people kept on like posting like thumbnails, and it would show up in my recommended on YouTube, and they were
didn't they do it for like the entire week leading up to it?
Yeah, we're like, but like
it's
people were
a 2-minute trailer.
People were taking,
I hate it when they do teasers for
fancy
trailers.
clips, kind of like we've done here, where they have the shot of Superman in his black suit with the eye beams firing down, and which is a dope friggin' shot. Like it looks so goddamn cool. And then the spoiler alert, 3, 2, 1, fucking Jared Leto's Joker coming back. Like I had people posting like thumbnails of that stuff going on. So a lot of the trailer was kind of ruined for me. The thing that I got from the trailer though is that it is going to be it's clear that he wanted to make sure that it was like it was obvious this is going to be very different from the Justice League that we got.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, and another one of my friends says it looks like the exact same movie, and I'm like, really? Are you blind? Are you blind?
I didn't get that impression at all, man. I mean specifically around the tone. Like the tone is going to be a lot darker. Be the same.
Yeah, the tone is a lot darker.
It's like it looks like the same movie. It's like, well, some of it's fucking shot by the same guy.
I mean, stuff like this, we never saw. Cyborg got cut out a lot from the 2017 version, the Joss Whedon version. This trailer gives us a lot more of him, doing a lot more stuff.
Might have been because his actor had some beef with Whedon too. Like who knows?
Oh yeah, and unfortunately, gosh, I don't even want to get down with that. I'm such a huge Buffy fan, and it hurts to my core now to see cast members from back then being like, yeah, he had an issue. And it's like, damn, that sucks so much. But hey, man, even in Hollywood, doesn't matter if it's a year later or two decades later. If you did some shit, it's coming out. But Cyborg...
That's the world we're in now.
Yeah, Cyborg clearly has some more time in this movie. I mean, it's a 4-hour movie. We got to see some more footage from Flash. Some of that footage had been leaked over the past couple years, work print footage.
I liked the little rescue that he did in the car accident scene. Like that was and outside of his costume, like that was a nice Flash moment where he's just like,
Yeah,
I have to do it. Like I have to help her. Like
right.
that's Barry in a nutshell.
And we've seen that before in the work prints that Zack Snyder released.
Yeah.
Interesting thing about him, it's not a huge story or anything, but they did do some reshoots. He was over in the UK filming something. He did reshoots for this movie over Zoom with Zack Snyder. Over Zoom. So for all those people saying Zoom sucks for work conferencing, this dude Zack Snyder filmed part of a movie.
Oh, dude, they got Zoom.
Oh, you know they did.
This production. They got some band. That's why the bandwidth sucked on Zoom for a while because they were filming Justice
exactly
League
because Zack Snyder had it all, and they green screened it. And yes,
did all the actors come back for reshoots? Because like I saw like there was new stuff for just about everybody, but it was probably stuff that he had already filmed and ended up getting cut or something.
Well, yeah. So
what are you doing?
I mean,
look at this little freak. Oh, you stopped now? Really? He's trying to pass through the blinds like there's some barrier or some
We've talked about the Snyder cut in depth in the past, but the cinematographer for Justice League admitted years ago, well, he didn't admit, he just said years ago that when Joss Whedon came on, instead of finishing Zack's project, he refilmed 90% of the movie. So if that dude refilmed 90% of the movie, then yeah, Snyder's going to have a bunch of stuff that wasn't used. And you could just tell when you were watching the 2017 version, you could tell if it was a Joss Whedon shot or a Zack Snyder shot. Like they didn't even try to mesh the two together. There were stark differences, horribly stark differences. So, yes, they did do some reshoots, but that was only because pretty much when they said, we're going to do this, we're going to do Snyder's maximum vision. It wasn't going to be a 4-hour movie back in 2017, but it's going to be a 4-hour movie now. You know, so if they're going to invest in it, they might as well invest in the, you know, what Zack Snyder and his fans love, or his director's cuts. Pretty much all of his big movies in the past, Watchmen, Batman v Superman, Sucker Punch, they all had longer Snyder cuts. So that's kind of his thing, and HBO Max is giving it to him. Thanos looks hella different.
Board. Thanos?
No. Darkseid looks awesome.
I called him Darkseid for so long. Just because the way that they spelled
well, that's
kind
of how it's spelled. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for a while, all I ever saw it and was written down. I didn't watch a lot of like animated stuff for Superman or anything like that he might have been in. Like
he looks awesome. This whole scene is new. This is like a cathedral scene on another world. So this is all new.
Freaking dope, man. Like,
yeah.
And I mean, I know that like he's got some Thanos shit going on. It's kind of awkward to have like him here with his like religious looking disciples and shit with him.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the vibe. But
looks awesome
enough for me. He looks fucking sweet.
You mentioned it. Looks like the Joker is back. This looks like an extension of the nightmare sequence from Batman v Superman. Joker is wearing SWAT gear, which is kind of funny because I think he was wearing SWAT gear at the end of
Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad. I doubt it's the same SWAT gear, but he looks a little different. Grew his hair out, covered up his tattoos.
He was a little bit less eccentric too. Like he was a lot more dramatic, especially with his dialogue. So that was so yeah. I think it was the eccentricness of Jared Leto's portrayal that kind of turned me off of him.
Well, don't read the comics then, because Joker's personality changes like every arc. But yeah.
Well, it was just the way he played it. Like
he played gangster Joker for sure.
It just seemed a little like gross. I guess
like TikTok gangster. What if a mafia guy was big into TikTok? It would be that.
Yeah,
pretty much. It was weird, but he looks great in this. This looks like a morph between his version and Heath Ledger.
I like the vibe that he puts out for this one. He did seem like he was kind of trying to sound like Heath Ledger, though, a little bit. Which is fine. Like, that's not terribly offensive to me or anything like that.
Sure. They did a nod to the internet with the "We live in a society"
Yeah.
thing.
I love that you threw that meme in there. Oh man.
Yeah, and I wonder if it was filmed. I don't think it's actually in the movie because if you notice, the "We live in a society" is dubbed. Like it's you don't see him say it, and then he turns
Yeah,
around and
like
he's
I
like
wonder if they
Batman.
just threw
They
that in
just
there.
filmed that shit for the trailer, but it still cracked me up. But yeah, so I thought it was a bombastic trailer. I thought the music. Oh, and they brought. I'm pretty sure the music in the trailer was the Junkie XL score, which uh, was heavily removed from the 2017 version as well. And I mean, it was glorious to me. It really got me hyped for March. I can't freaking wait. The only thing I'm sad about is that it's not going to be in theaters because all the trailers that I saw said streaming. I don't think this is a day and date streaming and theater release, even though there is apparently a 10-minute intermission. But I think they're working on it because if you notice, the aspect ratio of the trailer was not 16 by 9.
It was 4:3, which was
And the
really
reason
weird.
why it was 4:3 is because a majority of it was filmed in IMAX. So that is the ratio for IMAX screens. It's more of a giant square than it is widescreen. So from what I've heard is that they're still trying to work out something of an IMAX release later for this. But it still looks great.
Cool.
So hell yeah, I would see a 4-hour movie in IMAX. Hell yeah. Do you want to jump into WandaVision?
I do. I do want to jump into WandaVision. I will mention, just as like a couple actual lightning round situations, is that we did get a trailer for Cruella.
Oh yeah,
the Disney version of that. I have not seen it yet. I don't know if I really care. That's kind of why. I wasn't even tracking it really. Wasn't really on my radar. Were you planning on react? Did you want to react to that or something like that, or maybe down the road? Not today, not in this episode, but
yeah, we can. I saw a glimpse of it, but I had to go to a meeting, so I didn't get to see it. Good. And honestly, I'm a huge fan of Emma Stone. Right? It is Emma Stone. Yeah, Emma Stone. Huge fan of Emma Stone. But to be honest, I'm just sick. I'm so sick of Disney going back and doing this shit to their villains. Stop it.
I was totally bringing it up half because it was relevant and the other half because I knew it would get you going a little bit.
Because what's the Angelina Jolie movies? What's Maleficent? Why can't their villains just be villains? Just let them be villains. I don't want some sympathetic backstory about how a mobster with Dalmatians hunted down and killed Cruella's family, and they made her watch as the Dalmatians ate all of her brothers and sisters. And that's why, guys, she hates Dalmatians. You should feel bad for her. She's not a villain. Like, I don't want it.
Can't she just be a bitch?
Can't she? At the same time, it could I
haven't
be
seen
good.
The trailer. I haven't seen the trailer. Maybe that's the route they go down. Maybe she's just like a real bitch. But yeah,
but
no, I wasn't super into that.
There was something that released today. I don't know if I shared it on our Facebook page or not. If not, I'm going to. There was like a fake article about Disney's next villain is called Queen, and it's the alien queen because they own Fox now. And it's like the backstory of the alien queen. She's not as bad as you think. And I'm like, oh my God. I could see them doing it. But
yeah, no, we got the Cruella thing, and then the new Mortal Kombat trailer is coming out tomorrow. As of the filming of this on the 17th. Yeah, apparently.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait for that. I want to see that so bad.
Mortal Kombat trailer. I'm gonna double check because I'm pretty sure.
I mean, the movie's almost here, so they got to release that trailer sometime.
Well, they released these really cool posters that I saw on social media. That was how I found out about it, because they're like motion posters. They did like video versions of the posters, and so it was really cool. But yeah, ahead of the premiere of Mortal Kombat trailer on Thursday, February 18th. So yeah, tomorrow.
So I will be super interested in that because Mortal Kombat's It had its highs, had its lows. The games are still coming out. People love it. Mortal Kombat 11 is huge. It had that really interesting web series that I think was on YouTube called Legacy, Mortal Kombat Legacy, that had YouTube. It had a little more than YouTube money, but not really like great TV money. But it was interesting. And I was like, man, if this would be cool if somebody actually reinvested in the Mortal Kombat. So I hope this is good. I hope it's not shit because Mortal Kombat deserves better, you know?
Yeah, like the legacy that I have, like whenever I think of Mortal Kombat movies, all I think is Mortal Kombat 2, unfortunately, because that just burned
It's
a
hard
hole
not
in my
to.
brain. Like, it was just,
Of course.
but yeah.
Oh, thanks for letting me know that because I'm digging that now. Maybe we should if you got time, what is tomorrow? Thursday? Maybe we
Yeah.
should do a Cruella trailer reaction and a Mortal Kombat trailer reaction tomorrow. If you got time.
I can get into that. I have photo shoots tomorrow, but I could squeeze something in.
Okay. All right. You want to talk about WandaVision now?
I do want to talk about WandaVision. Dude, okay, so we talked about, like, the last ones that we talked about, we stopped at 4, right? Like,
yeah, we did 1 through 4 the last time.
Right. So we've only got 5 and 6 now. And so far the only villain in the show is the end credits. Because I get more pissed off when those things show up than any fucking other character in the show.
To be fair, though, they're showing up later and later, which...
Well, they're going to show up a lot later now because it's been confirmed by Kevin Feige that the remaining 3 episodes are all an hour each, which is wonderful.
But the last couple have been 30 to 40 minutes, which are nice. Basically, all of our bullshitting, mainly my not bullshitting, mainly my complaining about the first 3 or 4 episodes. I don't know why I didn't connect the dots till later, but it seemed like for that era of sitcom, they were keeping to about that length. And as they got to modern eras of sitcoms, the episodes got longer. And now we're in pretty much modern times, so the episodes are modern times long. So yeah, that makes sense.
It's definitely where we're at now, and I'm pretty happy because that's 3 hours of what is obvious to me now is a prelude to the next. Is really just a prelude setting the stage for the next phase in the Marvel films. Like I think Winter Soldier and Falcon, which was originally going to be the first series that they were
before
show.
This. Right.
I think that was going to be kind of more of an in-betweener. Like they probably weren't going to touch on some of the stuff that we were going to see here by a lot. I know that they are very interconnected, but I don't know that it was necessarily going to be as much, which I think is why they were okay with rescheduling it. I don't think there's any other way for it to be portrayed at that rate.
Yeah.
And then we've got Wonder Woman. We've got WandaVision coming in here now. And stealing the show, or stealing the show from everybody, from every network out there. Like, I mean, this is the show to watch, and there's been several articles that have been confirmed that it's the most popular show on TV right now. And
no matter how much we bitch, they are getting their attention because they're doing it once a week. It sucks for us, but business-wise, it is making them so much money. Like,
dude,
they're getting everything they want by doing it weekly.
I have no room to talk, though, because I was one of those people who was like on board for it. It was like, you know what? I like these once a weeks because it gives me it's like a thing that I get to do. It's like a tradition, a weekly thing for me to do. Like it's me and Cece's date night thing. And, and now it's
one great date night followed by 6 nights of, come on, damn it.
Well,
get back to Friday.
If there's any studio out there who can claim the king spot for laying down cliffhangers right now, it's Marvel.
And that's how you do it.
Because they're killing it in that regard. So, I mean, let's just go through episode 5, I guess. Let's just start there.
I did a little image deck for both episodes. So, at the end of episode 4, right, we had the twins.
Right.
We were in so the this kind of starts off. Yeah, and this is now in the 80s.
And Rambo's character had just been launched back out of the world.
Right. And then we got to see an episode from her point of view. This episode 5 goes back into the sitcom. This is more like what was that Matthew J. Fox show?
Family Ties.
Family Ties. The intro to episode 5 felt a lot like me to Family Ties. It's definitely that era.
It was absolutely
even the layout of the house is that era, which is big. But this was a big moment just in the beginning of the scene when what's her face? God, why am I sucking with names so much? When Agnes comes in.
Her real name's Agatha Harkness. I don't give a fuck what anybody says.
Well, that's certainly what they want you to think. She comes in like she has been doing at exactly the right time that she's needed. Wanda and Vision are complaining that they can't get the kids to sleep. Ding dong, here she is. Duffy didn't even wait for them to open the door, just swings in like she's fucking Kramer from Seinfeld. And she's like, here I am to save the day. And even Vision is like, God damn, we can't get some privacy. This chick is just coming into our house. I got to hold up a pillow to hide my face. And as soon as she's like, let me save the day, even he's like, have you washed your hands? I don't know if you touched the baby. He starts freaking out, and she just goes silent and is like, what do you want me to do? Should we restart the scene? Like the whole thing just cuts to a crawl, and it's the top of the episode. It was a great moment.
The specifically around Agatha's. This is just it's just coming out now.
I know.
Specifically around her character, just the way that she's interacting with Wanda now, and how she reacted. Like, because it was the previous episode, she was doing the same thing. Like before I think.
Oh, it's been building up
born,
to this.
Like her and what's the black guy's name? The black neighbor. I can't remember his name.
Herb.
Is
it Herb?
Is it Herb?
So.
Is that her husband?
No, her husband is the guy we haven't seen before. Ralph. Her husband is Ralph, who we have not seen, but she makes a point to joke about all the time.
So this is a running theory. I've got a lot of running theories right now, and honestly,
you and everybody else,
they're running me into fucking walls. But I feel like her husband, because he's the only character that we haven't seen yet, I couldn't even remember his name. Like that's how fucking ambiguous they're being around him. I feel like his character is Mephisto.
A lot of people feel that way. Yeah.
And I've
You're
seen
not
a couple
alone in
theories.
that.
I've seen a couple theories there, and I'm on board with it. Also, just with the storyline around her kids being so heavily dependent on Mephisto, specifically around like Wiccan and Speed. It just seems like the most logical solution that it's him and Agatha is just playing this part. She's like, it's like they're trying to make her, they're trying to make Wanda feel like she is actually in control when she's really not. Or she is absolutely just doing the bidding, that Mephisto has. And honestly, with the villain that we got, that got leaked, I don't know if it was real because this is Marvel, but the villain for Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness is supposedly going to be Nightmare, who would also have some familiarity with like kind of the wackiness that's been going on here. And honestly, okay. I was on board with all of those theories until the most recent episode where we realized that see what's the fucking lead guy's name for Sword right now?
Director doesn't start with an H.
Is it like Harold or something like that?
Harker or something like that. Director WandaVision.
You put director of WandaVision, you're gonna get a very different.
Yeah, that's not gonna. Hayward, director Hayward. Tyler Hayward.
Okay. I was gonna say Harold.
Close.
The fact that he is tracking Vision tells me that his only priority is actually getting Vision back, which is like leading into like that was what kind of destroyed my theory that this was all just like a figment of Wanda's imagination. Like, because I was on board for that theory that Nightmare was going to be involved in this and that Mephisto was involved with this until that moment where he was actually able to track Vision, and Vision was kind of able to go outside of the barrier.
Okay, you're jumping ahead here.
I know I'm jumping ahead, but there's so much to go through.
First, for the love of God, we're in the first scene of episode 5. The best part of episode 5 is Vision continues to step away from Wanda, and this is the big deal with Agnes. Agnes is pretty much seducing Wanda, not in a sexual way, but as a best friend, just giving her everything she needs, whereas Vision is the one to the side, like, are you serious? You're starting to do magic in front of her. You're not even trying to hide in front of her anymore. And Wanda's like, just go with the flow, Vision. And Vision's like, this is not right. Vision is like, there's something wrong here, and there's definitely something wrong with you not hiding it from Agnes. Agnes, there's no like a shock moment. Now she's just there, and she's just seeing it all, and she's not against it at all. We get the twins. The twins age up a couple times in the 5th season, in the 5th episode, which is interesting.
Apparently,
at
as
will.
Well. Like they do it whenever the hell they want to.
Pretty much when they're sad, when they don't want to face their emotions, they age up. So they aged up into this duo for a while. They find a dog. Agnes helps them name it. And when
Sparky,
Vision is like,
which was a great little Easter egg.
Yeah, exactly. Vision comes in and is like, guys, this is wrong. We need to step back here. Can't just these kids just aged up to this age. They're not ready for a dog. And of course the kids age up again as soon as they hear that to another level. And basically everybody's getting what they want except for Vision. And Vision's over here in the corner like, there's something wrong, and y'all are just ignoring me. And it's pissing him the fuck off. Like, I could just tell he's getting more and more irritated, which was great. You had the side story about the dog. The dog dies suspiciously, but
and then they use this as a great, like, because this is what really turned up the fuckery that obviously the episode leads into. But it was like her trying to like illustrate the permanence of death, which is like, all right, you of all people right now, Wanda.
Because the kids are begging her to bring back the dog.
Yeah.
The kid actually, what does he say? Fix dead. He's like, you can fix anything, Mom. Fix dead.
Yeah.
And even Agnes is like, you can do that?
Which is like this crazy moment that we start seeing again later on. But like these characters who do not seem to be, well, obviously don't seem to be associated with any of the missing persons that Sword is trying to track. Them actually, like, it's almost like they're coming from inside her head, which is like the hardest part of trying to, like, because the whole series, we're just trying to like determine what's real.
We're determining what's real and who's doing it, and is WandaVision trapped? Or is WandaVision? I can't even say her name. Is Wanda trapped in there like everybody else? That was the question until she straight up walked out, and Sword sent in a drone. Sword figured it out that they could. She got her accent back. She got her anger back. She got her badass clothes back, and walks out and addresses Sword like, "Hey, here's your shit. Stop sending stuff into my home. It's pissing me off." This was a great scene.
I have what I want. Stay out of my home.
And she looked at Hayward and said, "No one's gonna take it from me again." Which she looked at him because he had Vision's corpse. Apparently, after Endgame, who took Vision? Sword did. And which makes sense because Wanda disappeared. She was one of the snapped people. So she disappeared, and for 5 years, apparently, Sword has had Vision's body, and Hayward's clearly trying to do something with it. He's trying to make his own, because what does Sword stand for? Sentient weapon is the first 2 letters. So he was clearly trying to make his own sentient weapon. And even Rambeau said that sentient weapon observation and something division
Observation
and
research.
research.
Research or response?
I think it's response. Observation and response division. And Rambeau was like, I noticed there's not a creation in there. And I think that's what Hayward's been doing. He's trying to create a sentient weapon, and he pulled Vision's corpse to pieces to try to figure out how.
So yeah, it's sentient world observation and response division in the comics. It's sentient weapon observation response division in
the show.
I wonder if that changes. Like, I wonder if after a result of all this fuckery that's going on, she's like, we're not in the world, we're not in the, like, Rambeau or Photon takes over and is like, hey,
we'll get into that.
We're not doing weapon shit. All right, we're here to help the world, not, I don't know.
Which is also weird that it's not world, because they hinted in episode 4 that she's gone off planet several times. She's a friggin' astronaut. So, but and clearly sentient weapon was changed because of this whole side plot with Vision. Anyway, she comes out. She gets mad at Haywood. She goes back in. She makes the barrier a little bigger. We see this side scene with Vision and his coworker, where he taps into his mind and frees him for a second, which is interesting. Again, it's interesting that Vision can do this.
He's got mind stone powers from a fucking stone that was destroyed. What's going on?
Yeah, he's rebelling against the world created for him. He's got powers against the world created for him. How is he doing this? He's not just, I mean, there are people theorizing that he's just the animated corpse walking around, and that he really looks like a corpse, but in Wanda's eyes, he looks right. That's not true. Like, there's plenty of things to show that that's not the case. He literally has powers. He's doing his own thing outside of Wanda's control. It's so interesting to me that he has all these powers. It doesn't make any sense, and that's why I'm leaning towards... there's so many theories of what he really is, and is he really Vision? Is he something else? But he's clearly on this detective thing of his own.
Somebody went through like a pretty weird theory specifically about how Steve Rogers returns the Mind Stone to its original, because obviously they had to break it out of the scepter when they got a hold of it. And he can't necessarily put it back into something broken when he returns to that timeline. And so this person specifically was going around like the implications about how when he brought the Mind Stone back, he couldn't put it back into its original state. Mm-hmm. And that caused like a new timeline to break off where that stone actually still exists.
So do you think maybe Sword was trying to put it back in him?
That wasn't where the video went as far as its theory, but it would make a lot of sense. That's that time travel paradox. Yeah.
If it's destroyed and they bring it back, does it get destroyed again? Yeah, that's what happens when you do time travel. Even the MCU can't escape that. but it is interesting.
I mean, honestly, they wanted to open up that bag of worms to give themselves all these crazy possibilities. I mean, that's where the entire Loki series is coming from.
Exactly.
Which is going to which I like. The more we see of this, the more excited I am for the Loki series, because there were some shots in that trailer that were making specifically around the time cops in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's going to make things very interesting.
Yeah, if you think this show's trippy, that show looks like it's going to be...
That show's going to be fucking insane in all the greatest ways.
So then this
they're
episode...
make us wait a week between every fucking episode again. It's gonna be
but hopefully it's not going to start with 20-minute episodes.
Dude, this was like your favorite part of this episode.
It was so much.
You messaged me specifically about this. All caps.
Oh my God.
Vision stopped the credits.
He stopped the credits. So he comes in after fucking burying the dog. And I'm like, oh my God. And he says some line like, it's not every day that you get a dog and bury it in the same day. And I'm like, preach villain or villain, preach Vision. Wanda tries to, yeah, Wanda tries to walk it off wrong. Like, shit happens. And he's like, no, it doesn't happen like that. I talked to somebody under your control. You're doing some shit.
He was very calm about it. It was like, I talked to Norm, and I freed him from the power
your
of
oversight or something like that.
Or your oversight. And
he was like, he's in pain. And she's just like, nah.
As soon as he said it, you're like, shit just got fucking real.
Right.
Like oh, because this screen grab had been showing up in like the trailers that they're doing. I'm like, all right, they about to fight. Like, they're about to get into some shit.
But he just starts, well, she's like, he goes, you can't control me like you control them. And she's like, are you sure about that? And then the credits start rolling and he's like, nope, this is not where it ends. And even as the credits are going, he starts arguing with her. What's the Maximoff, whatever. And what are you doing to these people? They go into the other room and he's straight up yelling at her. These people have families and you're not letting them see them and it's wrong. And he's not holding back anymore. I'm like, finally, Vision found his balls. Here we go.
And I mean, she didn't really back down. Unfortunately, this is also the first time that we learn that Vision doesn't have a memory prior to Westview.
Correct.
So he has no recollection of any of the previous events. He doesn't remember dying or anything like that. Like, he doesn't remember the Infinity War. None of that.
Straight up says, I don't know who I am, and
which before episode 6 kind of pushed on that this is that, like, I was still in the belief that Vision was still in Wanda's head.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least him being alive was still in Wanda's head. Like, she had reanimated a corpse.
Sure.
And was only filling it with the memories that she wanted him to have, which was of this new life that they have, even though it keeps dramatically changing. And
she's trying to tell him that what's outside doesn't matter. And he's straight up saying, you don't get to make those decisions for me. I'm my own person. And this isn't right. He also
starts asking her, is like, why are there no children in Westview?
Yeah, like, where's all the kids?
The park is empty every time I go to work. And then it just keeps on getting like.
Well, there's a hint
like she keeps talking him down.
She does talk him down, and then she just backs off, sits down on the couch, and says, "You really think I'm doing all this?" She's like, "You really think I am telling the people to go to work and brush their teeth and go to the dentist and do all their things during the day?" And he is saying, well, there's no evidence to the contrary, despite her saying, this isn't all me. I don't know how this happened. So that was kind of the first time where she's like admitting that even though she clearly has power and influence here, she's admitting that she does not know the whole story. But even if that's true, she doesn't apparently care. She's more than willing to live here amongst all these hostages if she gets what she wants, which is an even darker story because it means that she really doesn't care about all the hostages as long as she gets Vision, and that seems to be the story.
And I think as we continue on, a lot of the hostages are going to start developing kind of like a Stockholm syndrome as well. Because that's what we're going to, because just based off of the trailers and some of the Vision and some of the stuff that we've seen from Vision later, is that we might be seeing something similar there. Even as hard as it's being shown that he's trying to break away from this. And
and we can get into that in the next, because there's points of that. But then you see one more thing before the end.
The doorbell rings and he's like, immediately he's like, all right, what'd you do? And she's just as surprised as he is. And then fucking all of us are because the wrong faced Quicksilver shows up.
Correct. And this is again another nod to perhaps she isn't doing all of this, because she hints multiple times in the episode to her children, I had a brother and he's gone. and that makes me
Past
sad.
tense the whole time.
But I'm trying to move on from that. Like she's clearly saying there's some things you just need to let. So she didn't do this. Something is trying to cater to her needs, and that's either through Agnes or now it's through Quicksilver. But for all of us, yes, this is the first time something from the Fox universe is coming over to the Disney Marvel universe, which is huge because we've already had the Sony universe come over with Spider-Man. Now we have the first X-Men. And even if this is just a one-off or it's explained away that it's not actually him or whatever, the fact of the matter is it's a character from the X-Men movies. And it's even said, if you listen to the audio description through Disney Plus, it's Pietro, but the version from the X-Men films. And that's a huge thing. So big.
When you because you told me about that, that was just like, I mean,
for them to acknowledge the X-Men films.
Well, first of all, the fucking the way that, like, if somebody's having to watch the audio or read the or listen to the audio descriptions, they ain't gonna fucking know what he looks like either. So,
why that's true.
I was just like, why? My first instinct was like, why would they put it that way? Why wouldn't they just say it's Pietro, but it's clearly not the Pietro?
Well, they could have watched they could have
like
listened to the X-Men movies and heard his voice. I don't know how blind people watch movies, but clearly they do somehow.
Well, then they would recognize his voice when he like came in.
But he does have a different accent in WandaVision.
He's got a fucking weird accent.
Weird, like Bronx accent or whatever.
Like an East Coast, like a Northeast Coast. Or
well, he's wearing that jacket. He's wearing that jacket. It reminded me of, like, Greaseballs from, like Indiana Jones 5 stuff with Shia LaBeouf versus, like there was the Grease Monkeys and then there was the other guys. I don't know if that's what he was trying to do, but yeah, he's got a whole style in the 80s and everything right here. And he had a accent to match.
For me. It didn't.
It was weird,
but I was able to glaze over it completely just because it was fucking Quicksilver. I was like, what?
Yeah.
And then Darcy says exactly what we're saying. It was like, she recast Pietro.
Yeah. And the fact that she's looking at him and she's recognizing who she is, but she's also not recognizing who he is. And she spent the whole episode saying it would be wrong for me to bring him back. It does lean into the theory that she might have control to a degree, but there's something else working to please her.
And that was what was kind of pushing, like, the nightmare scenario, that this is somebody who's inside her brain.
It's
and,
somebody,
like, toying with her like a puppet. But then episode 6 comes and kind of throws a lot of that shit out the window for me.
Which is great, because I don't want to know. I don't want to be able to guess it 4 episodes out. Yeah.
I feel like the last 3 episodes that we have are going to be where, like, the answers really start coming in, because we're at it follows kind of the film theory to where like the 60%, or it's like the 66% mark of most films is where, like, generally the heroes lose and have to, like, scrape themselves, like, dust themselves off and get back up, or like the real, like, downside of the film kicks in. And it's like the true
stakes are made.
That they have to, this is where, like everything gets real at this moment. And we saw that kind of at the end of this episode, but I think the beginning of the next is going to be where things really start to get illustrated for us. And like the true conflict for it. But it opens up with like the pleasant 90s era, like late 90s, early 2000s intro.
It felt like Malcolm in the Middle.
Malcolm in the Middle, and then some Full House.
Some Full House, some Home Improvement type stuff, especially with the episode started with following the kids and the fourth wall breaking. Like, that was very much late
Malcolm
90s, early thousands.
Like hardcore. That was absolutely Malcolm in the Middle.
Absolutely. That was the Lost in Space reboot with, him talking to the screen and everything. That's how all of that kind of stuff was. It was always the kids were driving the story. I loved this scene right here because Vision is just having a hard time holding back, Because even when he comes down in this ridiculous looking costume, Wanda's like, "Thank you so much for doing this for me. I know you didn't want to." And he straight up says, "It was the only thing in my closet," with a straight face, like not joking. Like, you think I had a choice, Like, he was also pissed.
And then he played it off into the joke that she's into Mexican wrestlers, which was great.
He was like, I could fight really or I could
Spanish.
He just keeps on putting on the happy face and then breaking from it when he's tired. It's like he's getting tired.
He's playing the part just like some of the other characters who are aware of what's happening are just playing the part. Be like,
but he's pushing his limits. He's realizing that unlike some of these other people, he has the ability to push a little bit. And so he's pushing a little bit more and a little bit more. Quicksilver's here. What did the kids call him? A man-child? I mean, what is he? He's sleeping on the couch till 4 p.m.
And I love that we saw that he has his superpowers as well, right off the bat.
He does.
Although it was definitely more the Marvel side of him than it is the way that they put it in the X-Men films.
Yeah, they didn't do the slow-mo.
The look was exactly the same as what Pietro and Quicksilver was doing.
Plus mixed with the 90s tone. It was definitely for laughs. So he's playing
it was honestly kind of a nice moment. Like I was like, oh, this is nice. Like she's got like a little family dynamic. The funny out of work bum uncle's here. Like for a second, I was Darcy. I was like, what? I can't be invested.
He was trying to keep the parents from fighting by helping out with taking care of the kids. Vision is like, hey, I'm about to go out on patrol, and Wanda's like, you didn't tell me. And Vision straight up says, I'm telling you now. I'm like, oh my God, Vision. Yeah. I love it. Your confidence level is just through the roof.
She also says that's not what you're supposed to be doing.
Oh yeah. Like you're off script.
Yeah. And she's fucking directing or some shit. Like,
and he's like, I don't care. I'm telling you, this is what I'm doing. And I'm like, you go.
It was fucking
Vision.
Uncomfortable, man.
It was so really uncomfortable. But I was rooting for him. I'm like, you hold your ground, buddy.
Fucking trooper, you.
The kids, I don't know. Did you know what this was supposed to be? Like, is this like a dressed down version of something?
I mean, they're all in like alternate versions of their comic costumes because he's Wiccan. That's his actual character.
Oh yeah.
So he's like, if you're not, for those who aren't familiar, Wiccan and Speed are the name of Wanda and Vision's children, who eventually do become real, but in the comics they are manifestations of Mephisto's spirit that Wanda manifests. And so Speed obviously is a speedster like his uncle, and then Wiccan has powers very similar to Wanda. And so he's got kind of like the sorcerer's look going on, which, I mean, if you just Google Wiccan Marvel, you'll see his costume. It's definitely obvious that they were just kind of sticking to his costume.
Gotcha.
Much
I didn't look that up.
Much like the other characters were doing.
Well, I did like that these two bond. They get the same costume, which was fun.
Yeah,
the same little Quicksilver
same
costume.
Powers too. So
yeah,
and he's like super stoked for him also later in the episode.
He is.
Very supportive uncle. I like him.
Yeah.
Even though he's even though it's very obvious he's kind of a dickhead. Also.
He is. But he also says that, isn't that why you brought me here, a little later. So they go out trick-or-treating. Meanwhile, Vision is just like, I'm going to walk in the opposite direction.
I'm getting my answers.
Yeah, I'm just going to go exploring. And I couldn't get a screen grab from it, but or I couldn't get a still shot. But the farther out he walks, the more he notices that people are doing less and less. They're either stuck in a rotation or they're straight up frozen in place. Like, we're not to your scene yet, or you're not close enough you're not in frame background. So instead you just wait.
That was how it was portrayed for me, really, is that it wasn't like we're waiting for you to be relevant to the story or something like that. It was more like they're too far away from her power source, which is Wanda.
And yet they're in costume and everything,
Yeah. Well, then we had the lady who was like hanging laundry, who like you could kind of tell that she and her husband were both in limbo because they're like kind of like repeating their motions.
And she's
you saw
crying.
the tears like coming down her eyes, and it was like, you know what? Yeah, she's outside of the influence, but she's still too far into it to where she can't break free of what's going on, which is clear. That's what everybody is trying to do,
right?
But this was also the moment where I was kind of convinced that Vision is not a part of because there was a theory that he was part of like the kind of like the battery that was keeping the hex going, that he was like part of the power, like which his mind stone. And then, but when this was all happening, I was like, this is kind of breaking me away from this theory, because if that were true, I would think that he wouldn't see anything out of the ordinary here, because he would then be within,
that he would act as their energy, they would be moving
like
around if he was near.
Like when they were around him, they'd be like trying to like perpetuate the illusion that's going on here. But that's not what happened. And he got to see all this fucking weirdeirdery.
And it gets to the point where they're just frozen. They're not even moving anymore.
Yeah,
they're frozen.
Weirder
and then
he ends up running into Agnes, and she's frozen too, which was really weird.
And
not
hold
weird
up.
If she's playing the part.
So on that point, first of all, he goes up and he sees her car parked at the intersection for Ellis Avenue. And the kids mentioned don't go past Ellis Avenue. So Ellis Avenue seems to be the border. She's on
like the president in the MCU right now.
Oh, really? Oh! I didn't make that connection.
He was one of the president.
Okay.
President Ellis Marvel. I got to remember which part of the timeline he was in, because he was he was the president, vowing to stop the attacks from the so-called Mandarin. He was kidnapped and nearly assassinated by Killian.
Oh, in Iron Man 3. He was the one that was up in the suit, in the Iron Patriot suit that they were going to execute or something. Yeah, I remember that now.
He was the president they were going to kill. He had another one though. I thought he was also. Nope, he was just. Nope, he's just showing up here in the Iron Man 3 side.
Okay.
He's in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
When
it looks like, or Inhumans.
When Vision was in that little circle drive, everybody was frozen solid. When he goes up to her car, she kind of just looks like she's holding her breath. Like when I watched this and then I watched it again a couple days later, she doesn't look frozen. She just looks like she's not moving. And I wondered if that was on purpose, like if she was acting like she was frozen or it just looked bad in camera. But she's
the only person who responded to him when he tried getting a hold of her. Like,
that's right.
He asked that one lady, "Are those your kids? Like, do you need help or like something like?" But nobody.
And she was the farthest away from everything. The fact that she could even respond, that's right. So that leads even more. What was she really frozen, or was she just, playing a part? But he does to her.
Was she trying to lead him to this borderline?
The edge to see what he'd do,
kind of get him there, and
she was pointing her car in that direction.
If she was she trying to lead him there to like help him get out to help people, or was she leading there to help him get out because she like knew that Wanda would like do the thing she does?
She wanted to see what would So either way, he does to her what he did to Norm.
Yep.
Her reaction is slightly different, but she does say, "Oh, you're an Avenger. You're an Avenger. You're here to help us." And he's like, "I do want to help you. What the hell is an Avenger?" Yeah. And even she's thrown by that. She's like, "Why don't you know? Why? As in she assumed that she knew who he was as well as the rest of us did." And she, we see that line from the trailer, "Am I dead?" And he's like, "No, why would you think that?" And she's like, "'Cause you're dead." Again, he doesn't know anything from 9 days ago. So he doesn't know that he's dead. Nope. Or should be dead.
It just kept getting weirder.
And what did she say? She starts manic laughing and
Yeah,
just like
she's losing her mind.
it's all wrong. You know, she's just losing it. He gives her back, you know, the thing. She kind of drives off, does a Yui, drives back into town, and then he's like, "All right, if this is the edge, let's see what happens when we go through." And he tries to go through,
and
it
doesn't go so hot.
No. Meanwhile, Wanda and
also important to note that Rambo and Wu and Darcy have all been kind of ejected from Sword at this point.
yes,
and then they break their way back in. This is also after Rambo, because we're not talking about like the real world at all while we're doing.
I know. I forgot to get screen grabs for that. There's a whole
Well, there's a sequence where they're talking about a way to get back into what they're calling the hex without it transforming them. And then she starts talking about an astrophysicist who she's going to get a hold of, which is a very strong reference to Reed Richards.
However, that's apparently been debunked, or they just want us to think it's debunked.
I mean, it's definitely not debunked, because Marvel would absolutely love for people to speculate wildly about everything. I think it would be absolutely hilarious if they did get John Krasinski for that character, and then we now have 2 Jim Halperts inside WandaVision at the same time. That would be hilarious.
I know.
But they're talking about a way to get back in, and that they need to like get off of the ground so they can go and talk to this guy. Darcy becomes an expert level hacker out of fucking nowhere, which I believe was the only complaint that you had about this episode.
I did. I do like that people are referring to this group as the trio, because they really are. They're like, you know, they're from 3 different parts of the agencies, but they're coming together. And yes, they beat the shit out of some bad guys. Thankfully, it's just the FBI agent and the Sword agent. So I can see them having, you know, it's not like Darcy was suddenly a ninja and was able to kick somebody's ass, but they take care of some guards. But then
I'm a little upset that she didn't tase anybody, because that would have been a nice like throwback.
But then they were just like, oh no, wait, we got to get Darcy in here as well. So instead of just like having one other person in that truck that she came into as a hacker, they're just like, you know what makes sense? Darcy, the girl who was the political science major in the Thor movies, now she's an astrophysicist in the WandaVision. You know what? She's a scientist with glasses. She might as well be a hacker as well. In fact, a government level hacker.
Benefit of the doubt, though, a lot of time had passed between like ditzy Darcy's in Thor 1 versus now. And she also did have a little bit more technical expertise in Thor: The Dark World, and we hadn't seen her since then. Who knows what path she had taken? And then we've also got to include the 5 years. If you really want me to get nerdy into it, she didn't really. I don't think she had to hack shit, because she grabbed a laptop that was like there on base and was like on network already, obviously. So
well, that's true, but she did
what
say,
are you really having to break through?
She did say, give me a minute to hack something. Now I will. Okay, I'll give it to you. The laptop was open, and she did plug in a device. And what do hackers normally have? Programs on thumb drives that they can plug into things and hack.
Well,
so she did do that.
And what does S.H.I.E.L.D. always have that, like, Rambo or Wu might have handed off to him or something like that? Some sort of digital espionage trick.
Sure.
What was interesting is that, first of all, she was also the one who found out that Hayward... Did I already say that right? Did I already say that? You
said it right. Yep, you said it right. You said it right.
Hayward is tracking Vision, and she is on to something like really big that he's involved in. But
and he has a full head count of the town. Like all this time, they're like, wait, we didn't know he could look into the town like this. He's able to track everybody that's in there. Yeah, and how is he doing that?
And then she also uncovers that like some of the blood work that Rambo got done when she got in and out of the hex, and she is showing like the hints that they're going towards, which we were all expecting, is that she's gonna become Photon,
right?
But it's due to like the radiation craziness or whatever from
that
the hex.
Wanda isn't just making things look different. She's changing things on a molecular level. And you were talking about wondering if whether the residents were going to have the Stockholm syndrome. Is it Stockholm syndrome, or is her effects on them just starting to break them down to the point where their independence is going more and more and more? I mean, if she's can change the molecular level of things, then who's to say she can't just change them enough to where their independence just goes less and less and less until it's just gone.
Or if her powers just like the longer she has her influence, like the stronger her power is on them, to where even like whatever independence they had just gets overridden by the control that she has on them.
Right, but they do a CAT scan or something of Rambeau, and it comes out blank.
Which she had skipped, like she skipped over getting any of the results when she woke up, and she's like, "Hey, I need to get back to work." Well, Darcy gets back to those results and sees what's going on. She's like, "Hey, you're changing," but of course, Rambeau's like, she's all about the job, so they kind of she glasses over that too.
Right.
But yeah, that was kind of like the last big human moment until like the climax of the episode.
Well, and right before the climax, these two are having a conversation, and even this is when I'm starting to think he's not actually him, because he sits down and he's like, "Hey, so I noticed there's a lot of kids here now," as in a reference to Vision's question in the last episode, "Where's all the kids?" He's like, "So where'd you have them all this time? Did you just have them
Were
sleeping?
They just sleeping safely in their beds? It's not a bad idea bringing them out for the odd end cameo."
And he straight up says, even you don't have to explain it to me. The fact is, you're doing all these people a favor. You're keeping the couples together. Most of these people had better jobs than they did before. Yeah. He's giving her praises, and she's saying, "You don't think it's wrong?" And he's like, "No, I think it's amazing."
You've handled the ethical implications as best as you could.
But at the same time, he's asking her how she does it. And he's prying. And he's like, "I'm not your husband. I'm not a stranger. I'm your brother. You can trust me. How are you doing this?" And you could view it as one way of him being innocent. Like, I don't know how I got here. Or maybe he is somebody else and he's trying to figure out how she's doing it. Like he's not actually him. He's somebody that's looking like him and he's trying to get to her secrets.
I think it could also be simply him. Whatever villain is actually perpetuating this issue is trying to continuously make Wanda feel like she's in control, to where she's doing it. Because the more the focus is left on her being the one who's doing all this, the less focus it is on the actual source.
And he's even saying, like, she's like, why are you being this way? Or she's like testing him and everything. And he's like, I'm here and I'm this way because this is how you wanted me to be here. You wanted me to be here to give you trouble, to take care of the kids.
I was killed in the street for nothing. Then I heard you calling me, and here I am.
So
he's really fucking weird.
Continuing the narrative that she's doing this, even though she might not. Simultaneously, Vision's out here trying to straight up leave the Hex. And unlike Wanda with her seamless walkthrough, he's really struggling, and the takes a couple steps, and the Hex starts ripping pieces off of him to pull it back in. So he's clearly not supposed to leave, and he can't survive on the outside world. And I would have thought, because Haywood, they get an alarm every time something happens at the border. Hayward and his people are there, and even Darcy's like, he's dying. You got to help him. I would have thought Hayward, if he's tracking Vision and wants Vision back, I would have thought he would have tried to help Vision or something. Instead, they just watch him disintegrate, almost to nothing onto the ground.
Yeah. I mean, at the same time, we don't know if Hayward wants him back dead or alive.
Sure.
I feel like it's, I don't know, we're going to get more into that motive in these next episodes. And honestly, until then, my speculations around Sword and Vision, or their desire for Vision, isn't quite as strong as my other theories are.
Sure.
Because this is a very new concept as far as all of it goes.
The director did have one line where he was just like, wow, he really wants out, doesn't he? Like, he was just watching what would happen like everybody else.
Yeah.
And when Darcy tried to intervene, they handcuff her to a thing. Meanwhile, the kids go back and say, Mom, there's something happening. Dad's in trouble.
Yep. Wiccan realizes his powers and can feel Vision telepathically.
He can feel Vision. He can stop Speed from running around. I don't know if that was a force field or what, but he just kind of stops him in his face.
Well, and even Speed was like, "Hey, that was kind of cool."
Yeah, you got your powers too, huh? So she,
which gives me more of an inclination that those two are independent spirits of some kind.
Well, Rambeau said
some
that
sort
too.
Of autonomy.
Rambeau said that they're real, and granted, who knows? I mean, she's just an outsider looking in, but she was just like, those kids are real. But she freezes everything. Wanda goes demon-eyed and expands the border to save Vision. And not only to save, like, she didn't just expand it 6 feet. She expands it to encompass the entire base outside of the town. And I wanted to get more pictures of it. Darcy is the only one that we don't see change. We don't see what she changes into. But all of the army people change into clowns. The entire base changes into a circus. The helicopter, which was really cool, changes into a hot air balloon,
which was really cool.
But of all the things to change the army people, they change them into clowns.
When the gate was actually being expanded, what was kind of cool is that it was very clear that Darcy was about to say "fuck," but the censorship turns it into fudge, which was pretty neat.
That was clever. That was a wink, wink.
They run over a used car lot that goes back into older car lot.
Well, I think they just ran over army vehicles that got turned into a car lot, and then
there was a car lot that was way out there because she's expanding it by miles.
Yeah, it looked huge.
It was like a used car lot for modern vehicles, and then it gets turned into some old ones. Hayward and a few operatives are being chased in this, and I don't think we saw them get engulfed. I think they got out.
They did get out, and Rambeau and Wu got out as well. But here's the thing: when it was already a lot bigger than I thought it was, because when we see in episode 4. Where Wu and Rambeau are standing outside of town and they're looking down the road, you just see this small nothing town. In episode 6, when Vision goes up, and also when Darcy's looking at the map, it's a huge town. I mean, it's a huge suburb. It's a lot bigger than we thought it was already. And then she's
about to take over
expanding it big. So again, this is the question that happens whenever you see a solo MCU movie. How big does this get before some of the other Avengers intervene? And if who's Rambeau meeting over the ridge? A lot of people think it's Reed Richards. I think it needs to be, and if it's not this person, some other MCU cameo needs to happen, because this is getting way bigger. And she's not an offshoot. She was an Avenger. So why wouldn't the Avengers want to come help? You're telling me Hawkeye, who was very we're going through the same shit at the end of Endgame, wouldn't be here in a second? Some of them's got to show up.
It was mentioned earlier on when they showed footage of Wanda taking Vision's body, that whatever she did was a break on the Sokovia Accords. So those are now very much still active. And so the Avengers don't actually have the option of just doing that.
Are you telling me that after 5 years of the blip, after defeating Thanos, they give a fuck about a stack of papers?
That's what they said. They said that the Sokovia Accords were still active. So any official Avengers, I guess.
Okay, I get that, but you're telling me that Hawkeye's not going to show up and be like, my friend's hurting.
Hawkeye's out in the middle of fucking nowhere with his family. I bet he's trying to stay away from absolutely everything that he can after what.
Sure, he got him back. I could see him going off book.
But what about he was living out on a farm in the middle of nowhere?
And then he lost them for 5 years and lived through it.
News. He doesn't
That's
have
true.
Natalie to reach out to him to like give him like some sort of secret spy message. Who knows what Hayward is actually running up the ladder to Fury, who would actually get a hold of some of these people. I do believe that Fury is going to show up at some point in this show. And he might be the connector for those other Avenger characters to show up.
But is he on planet? Because in Spider-Man 3, which is in timeline of things, Spider-Man, no, not Spider-Man 3. In Far From Home
Spider-Man
is
2.
after this. Yeah, Spider-Man 2. And that and
Far
we
From
saw
Home is
that
after this?
Yeah, because this is just after the blip. This is days after the blip. Okay. Spider-Man 2 is like over a month after the blip.
I mean, it wasn't just days, because Monica Rambeau's character, there's definitely a time jump before she comes back. She's grounded for a little while. Like,
but it seemed like she came back real quick. It didn't seem like there was some throwaway line that suggested that she didn't stay away. Like, she came into work fast.
When does WandaVision?
I'm pretty sure this is in the timeline of things, like before Spider-Man 2.
Okay, that's the year 2023. Monica returns to her job at Sword 3 weeks later, officially placing the start of WandaVision around 21 days after Endgame. Okay, yeah, so, yeah.
I don't remember how far out Spider-Man Far From Home was, but it was...
I would imagine longer than that.
Yeah. It wasn't, like, crazy long, but it was longer than that, yeah.
Yeah.
So, in that movie... Fury's up in space. You know, the Skrull dude is covering his ass on Earth. So I don't imagine Fury's on Earth right now. I'm guessing.
I mean,
but that's just
I mean,
that's just
I don't
guess.
think he has to be on Earth in order to make an appearance in this show to some degree. I think like just some sort of like an administration level involvement that he might get involved. Like, then again, I don't know what role he plays in Sword. Like, we don't know that, like,
we really
it's not
don't.
Director. Like,
not to mention
directors, like there's a terrestrial director and then an outer space director.
I know we're going on an hour and a half of this right now. We don't need to stretch this out too much farther. The one thing we haven't talked about yet was Rambeau's reaction to the mention of Captain Marvel, because at one point in episode 5, she gets into like not an argument or anything, but a back and forth with Wu about how Wanda could have taken out Thanos if Thanos hadn't called for a blitz. Which, by the way, how do people even know about that? Like, was it like, were there cameras? How does she know what happened on the battlefield? Either way, she's like, she almost killed Thanos if Thanos hadn't called for a blitz. And then Wu was like, well, I would argue that Captain Marvel almost did. And you could see the look on Rambeau's face, like, don't bring up that bitch's name. You know, I don't want to talk about that. And I don't know if she blames the death of her mom on Captain Marvel because of radiation or something like that. But she definitely has a grudge against the person she looked up to as a kid.
Yeah. I don't necessarily know. I mean, of all the organizations who would have as much information on that battle as possible, it would be Sword Shield.
I guess.
So I mean, as far as like what.
But
kind
did
of
her mom
observation
die?
levels they're doing.
I don't understand why her mom would die of radiation levels from being around Captain Marvel when she was around Captain Marvel just as long. She was in the same scenes as a kid, and she didn't grow up with cancer.
Is that what it was blamed on? Or did
no? But a lot of people are theorizing that could be a reason why she has a grudge against Captain. Why else would she have a grudge against a person she saw as a child? Unless something happened. But a lot of people are like, oh, maybe that's why her mom died, was because of the radiation from Captain Marvel. It's like, okay, but why wouldn't she have gotten sick as well? She was around her as well. So who knows? But she clearly has something against Captain Marvel, which is interesting. And I'm sure will get played out more later.
Yeah, well, I mean, I hope that it gets explained at least, because, I mean, the Captain Marvel sequel isn't coming out until 2022.
Sure.
Which we know that Rambeau is going to be in, but that's a long fucking wait to get more answers here.
Sure.
Yeah. So yeah, everything's spread, like the hex is spread out, and that is where things were left. We don't know what else is going. We don't actually know if how many people got out although we're assuming that Hayward and Wu and Rambo did not get absorbed by the thing. I feel like they would have shown us that if it had occurred. But technically we don't know that things didn't go that well. Also, Wanda kind of fucked over Pietro there at the end too when he made kind of a snide comment about, "Hey, I'm not your dead husband." Or it's not like your dead husband can die again, right? And
she was like, "Bitch."
Energy. She ain't happy about that.
Fucked him up. Mm-hmm.
So there might be something to deal with there a little bit later, but who knows? But
it was also like she didn't trust that he was. He was avoiding any question about their childhood. He was remembering things that she wasn't remembering. She was testing him, like, what was that kid that used to take your shoe or whatever? And he just avoided the question. I don't think she's completely. I think she's interested.
She doesn't trust
into how
right
he's
now.
here, but I don't think she trusts that he's his brother, that he's her brother. Yeah. But
I'm on the point where I'm at the point where I'm kind of just going into wild speculation about who the more powerful character is who's going to intervene in this situation. And also, like, not just from like the good guy side, but also from the bad guy side. I do want to see. Mm-hmm. I do want to see if it's Mephisto, if it's Nightmare, if for some crazy reason it is just Agatha Harkness. But I feel like it's bigger than her at this point. Just from her character's behavior.
Mm-hmm.
But I also like is Reed Richards gonna show up? Is Magneto going to get referenced or show up at some point in here? Because I mentioned this in the last time that we talked about the episode. I watched an interview with Paul Bettany where somebody asked him, is there, without spoiling anything, is there something that you were looking forward to in the later seasons of the show? And he mentions that there was an actor who he really wanted to work with, who he got to be involved with in the later parts of the show. It's like, okay, that could fucking mean anything. But he made the hint that it was somebody who's already in the Marvel Cinematic Universe who he hadn't gotten to interact with yet, which technically would not include Ian McKellen's Magneto. There was also a screenshot that somebody found on IMDb where James Spader was listed in the cast for WandaVision as Ultron's voice.
Mm-hmm.
So are we seeing that again, or was that thrown in there because of like it's just like a flashback memory that she has or something like that, and they wanted his voice in there, or they used like a recording and they had to credit him, like they used like a previously already used thing. Is again, honestly, most signs are pointing towards Reed Richards at this point, and how they're going to slowly introduce Marvel's first family into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which I think is the absolute smartest way to go at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Is to have these characters showing up in the ways that other characters were introduced to the Marvel Cinematic Universe over time in other characters' main storylines, and then slowly bringing them all together for their main film, but again, it's all wild speculation.
There's plenty. There's
Strange.
3 more hours of this. Yeah, there's 3 more hours for all of this and more to happen, or none of it to happen, and so much more than what we could predict. I mean, Paul Bettany's tease about wanting to work, he didn't specifically say someone else in the MCU. I think he mentioned Marvel. No, okay. I think he mentioned Marvel, and that could have been referring to to Evan Peters' Quicksilver, meaning, I really liked him in the X-Men films. It could be him, or it could be someone we haven't seen yet. There's 3 hours left of this, which means so much could happen. So much has happened in the short time that we've spent on it so far. And I just re-binged this over the weekend with my mom because she wanted to see it. And I was amazed on how much stuff happened in the small amount of time that this show has been on the air so far. So the fact that we got 3 more hours of this, anything could happen, honestly.
Yeah,
which is
I
why
mean,
it's exciting.
there is a whole another end game level of end game amount of content that we could be getting.
Yeah.
Simply just
You
going
know,
through. Like it's wild to speculate at this point. I'll admit, like to jump into a bunch of these different directions, but this is exactly what Marvel wants us to do.
Absolutely.
Because it's driving that hype up. And again, as many pros and cons as there is with what's specifically happening, there is a part of me that fucking hates the way that they're doing this shit, giving us the one a week and then leaving us on these extreme cliffhangers. But
it works.
There's a bigger part of me that loves it because it brings me back to that era that we had in like kind of like the middle part of the Infinity Saga, where it's like, oh my God, we know about all these movies. What's going to happen? What character are they going to bring in? Like what's Endgame? Oh my God. Like it's that excitement for the trailers.
And that also
seeing, like,
speaks
the new details and all that.
It speaks to the confidence they have in their writing, because they're saying two things by giving you that week in between. They're saying, no matter how much you speculate, you ain't going to guess what's going to happen next week. And then B,
try as you may.
B, no matter how much you speculate about what awesome stuff's going to happen, what we have is better. And so far, they haven't let us down. Each episode has been really damn good. And it hasn't gotten to the point yet where we've predicted something and then something else has came and that thing was lesser than what we predicted. So far, everything they've put on screen has been better than what I thought we were going to get. So that speaks to their confidence that we got a show, and you can spend 6 days thinking about it, but you're not going to come up with as good as it is, which is awesome. I think that's really cool.
Everybody predicted that Pietro was going to come back to some degree, and they were like, you know what? Yeah, but here, we're going to fuck you at the same time.
But this, yes.
Like, we're going to give you Evan, and we're going to fuck with your mind completely.
And I'm not going to lie, I watched every reaction on YouTube I could find of that. Right? And from the ones that have never seen an X-Men film and had no idea what was going on, to the ones that like it blew their damn mind, like they just started screaming and jumping and holy crap. I love those type of reactions because it really was one of those like holy shit moments, in so many ways. It was big. It was big.
It's just too good. Honestly, but, like we can wrap this episode up here, or this episode up so. Now. Because it's an excellent show. If you haven't checked it out yet, I'm sorry we spoiled fucking everything for you.
We told you we would.
We've had that banner running down below. If we've spoiled like comic book level stuff, and you're not happy about that, first of all, you shouldn't be watching this. But like there's a lot of really good content in the House of M storyline that you should probably read up on. Because if you're liking WandaVision at all, I guarantee you're going to be really into House of M. There's a lot of callbacks to what we're seeing now in the House of M storyline. There's a lot of similarities, but they're keeping it different enough to where I'm still guessing. Like I've read the House of M series and I'm still guessing. There's still a bunch of... There were some people who were saying that they were going to skip watching this show because they've already read House of M. No, fuck off. Very different. And wildly entertaining. More importantly than apologizing for spoiling anything, what do you guys think? I want to hear your guys' crazy speculations. Do you agree with the wacky stuff that we've come up with? Do you disagree? Do you have... absolutely no interest in speculating at all, and you just want to watch the show and see how things play out? Whatever it is, we want to see your comments. We want to read your comments. We want to reply to your comments. And
do you think Falcon and the Winter Soldier is going to be as good as this? Because it was supposed to come out before this, and I don't think it is. But what do you think? Does this restore your faith in the MCU? I think just like when we had things covered like Civil War, it clearly wasn't a page-by-page faithful adaptation of the story. But in my opinion, this is Kevin Feige's genius. He is just like Christopher Nolan took enough from Batman lore to make The Dark Knight into this epic film. He didn't put Long Halloween on screen, but he took lines and he took stuff from the Long Halloween as well as other things to really make that special. And Kevin Feige's doing the same thing. We didn't have the story of Civil War from the comics, but we had enough of it to have it on the screen. This is clearly not House of M from the comics, but it's enough of it and other WandaVision storylines to really make this special. So it's A, special if you've read those and you can see the callbacks and the references to that, and it's done well. And it's B, special if you've never heard of those things and this inspires you to go do it. This is so much better than a shitty adaptation of that. Or, and I hate to pit against DC, this is so much better than Warner Brother Animation's terrible adaptions of great storylines like Batman Hush. Like taking the great story of Batman Hush and then throwing in a twist to throw you off. No one wants to see that shit. They want to see either a true adaptation or they want to see a great retelling in line with the current universe you've made. And that's what Feige and friends are doing. And holy shit, they're doing it well. I don't care what you're paying that man. Keep paying it or double it because he's God level on this thing right now. It's so damn good. I mean, after Endgame, I was like, what can they do, man? And they're just killing it with this show. I love it.
Just the way that they have played everything out, and especially you got to give them props because of how much things got held up just by COVID, and and they're still delivering at this level when they had that many hiccups through all this stuff.
You could have been super disappointed, like, oh, the wait killed this. You know, this would have been great a year ago, but now I'm just like, it's not as good. No, it's even better.
I'm worried that is the sentiment that people are going to have around Falcon and Winter Soldier. I'm really concerned about that.
After coming after this, if it's not amazeballs, then yeah. But
so far the hype
they can't
is just
do anything about it.
Like,
it's not. Their trailers.
The trailers are just, they're not making me feel like they make it seem like it's going to be like a buddy cop movie, but they're really not making it look like it's going to be a good buddy cop movie.
And who knows? Maybe they're doing all of that on purpose. Yeah, maybe they just don't want to show it. They could be, which should be perfectly fine by me. I understand it's a completely different tone, but yeah, I can definitely see more and more that they did not intend that to come after this. I think instead they were like, we'll put Falcon and the Winter Soldier out, then we'll blow their socks off with WandaVision. Now it's in the reverse, and I'm a little worried. I'm a little worried that Falcon and the Winter Soldier ain't gonna live up.
I had a feeling that because they wanted Black Widow to come out sooner, that there was going to be some character crossover for Black Widow and that series as well. Because we already know that Zemo is coming back for Falcon and Winter Soldier. True. But I felt like Black Widow, in the timeline that it's sitting into, which is right around Civil War. I felt like that was going to have something to do. I thought it would have been way better for it to have been between Infinity War and Endgame, but whatever. That's not the direction they went. I have faith that one's going to be good. But I felt like now that has been messed up so much to where Falcon and Winter Soldier is coming before Black Widow, that theory's completely gone now. I have nothing but faith at this point in our Lord and Savior Kevin Feige, the team at Marvel, all the people who are putting in a shitload of work into getting all that. Oh my god! You know, I think I could see your screen. Did you just put this together?
No, I didn't. I saw it. I was looking for something else, and I saw that come up, and I'm like, oh, I got to share this.
For a second, it looked like you were working in Photoshop or something. You were fucking making that while we were doing this. That's so good.
I was, but somebody had showed, I was trying to find this picture on Facebook. Somebody had shown a picture of the young Monica Rambeau and the current Monica Rambeau doing the same face, like the same like
Okay.
smirk face, and it was like perfect casting. I was trying to find that, but then I came across this, and I was like, okay, that's awesome. Yeah.
Trying to fix our.
So
There we go. Haha. I have
it's just
control
great.
now. Woo.
You do.
I forgot that I could do that. No, I have nothing but faith. I can't adjust your screen though, so it's got the framing is all weird right now.
Oh, whoops. There we go.
I have nothing but faith in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as it stands right now. It sounds like they're going in the only direction that they really could to continue to keep it successful. And the business model of Disney Plus lines up with that perfectly. I'm not going to say this with any like real sincerity because I know how much you would disagree, but it sounds like Disney is going to have some real competition, or Netflix is going to have some real competition for that top streaming spot in your mind by the end of 2021, depending on how things are going.
You know what? It's Disney ain't chasing that. I mean, Disney's chasing subscribers for sure, and their numbers are huge. I don't know if they did this on purpose, but the numbers that they predicted that they would have by 2022, they already have. And they were predicting something like 95 million subscribers. They had said that they wanted that to be their goal by 2022. They have it now. So I don't know if they did that on purpose, but they're doing fine. They are getting those subscribers. I don't think they're chasing Netflix, man. I think they're chasing greatness, and they're fucking pulling it off.
I don't think it's their goal. I think it's just going to happen that way. Like it's going to be a side effect of the badassness that they're putting out right now.
I think Netflix will always be king of the streaming network that's not Disney, and that Disney will be its own thing. I can't see somebody being bigger than those two. HBO Max, Snyder Cut all day, baby, but that's not going to project HBO Max over Netflix or Disney. And, you know, there's a mom and a dad, or there's a mom and a mom, or there's a dad and a dad in every kind of household. The streaming household, it's going to be Disney and it's going to be Netflix. And they just seem to be, they're the heavy hitters. And at this point, why pit them against? Well, they're going to pit it against each other for competition, but they're on so many different levels now. You know, Disney's just out to be great, and they're just chasing greatness, man. And so far,
on a good path. They're on a great path for it too. All we can do is speculate. All we can do is wait. But for now, Nerf Herders, let us know what you guys think of Disney Plus. Let us know what you think about WandaVision. Hit us up in those comments. Be a part of the conversation. Hit the like button if you liked this video. Hit the dislike button if you didn't. Be honest. We can take it. And until next time, have yourselves a good night.